How many absentees we got?
We've done 848.
Holy moly.
And what's
That's
normal?
Friday.
We'll talk.
Okay, I'm convening the hearing of the Norwalk Charter Revision Commission. This evening, it is a public hearing. And so we'll first do roll call, and I believe everyone is present. So we have Tyler, Fairrain, Steve, our counsel, Steve Medic, our counsel, Rick McKay, our vice chair, Michael Witherspoon, Barbara, we got to get this right? Barbara Watton Raleigh, we have to say for the record both names, and Angela Wasuma, Carl Dickens, and Michael Witherspoon, I already did, didn't I? So we have a quorum. The minutes of the September 21 meeting have been sent out to all commissioners. Are there any comments or questions on the minutes? Hearing none and seeing no hands raised for those that are on our Zoom connection, a motion would be in order to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. The next section of our hearing tonight is actually a public hearing for anyone in the audience or anyone that is watching on Zoom, or anyone that wants to send in comments through the city's website is welcome to do so. This was our announced first meeting, and it came to our attention that there was a mistake in the advertisement in the Norwalk Hour on the date, saying that we would be reporting out this year in November of 22, and obviously it was supposed to be November of 23. So consequently, we will be having a second public hearing just to make sure that we do everything as clearly as we possibly can for everyone. So our next meeting will also be a public hearing in the same form as we're doing this evening. Have there been any people signed up that would like to speak tonight?
I did not review the agenda, so I did not
Would you
know.
please, sir, identify yourself, name
sure.
and address, please?
My name is John Levin. I live in Norwalk at 249 Chestnut Hill Road. My wife and I have lived in Norwalk for 31 years at that address. So I didn't review the agenda. I didn't know that public comments would come right away. I see there's not a lot of public in the room tonight, nor the Zoom board either, which is fine. I have two suggestions. One is, I think that this is a very important city commission with a very important mission. Please consider creating alternates. If you're not going to expand the size of the commission, I think one thing that you can do to ensure that a quorum is always present is deepen your staffing level by offering an opportunity for alternates to attend, stay up to speed, and when appropriate and necessary, be seated to vote. I would like to volunteer as an alternate as well. So if you do decide to look for alternates, I wish to put my name in the hat.
Just, respond to that. We were appointed by the city council.
Mhm.
And so
Right.
that is the prerogative of the city council, not of the commission, to appoint anyone.
The appointment, that's correct, but I think that this commission could decide that you would like to create a role for alternates.
Okay.
Because of course there are city commissions like the Conservation Commission, for example, which meets with a very large agenda and a lot of work to do and needs alternates because if they don't have a quorum, then a lot of the work is.
You have 3 minutes, so would you, if you have other things you want to identify, that would be
Yeah, I had
helpful.
another idea, but I'll share it at a different
Sure.
time.
But you have time right now.
Go ahead, John.
Nope, I'll save it for later.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you so much.
All right. Is there anybody that has reached
Thank you.
us
If there's anyone
electronically?
from the remotely on Zoom that would like to speak, please raise your hand electronically now, and I will unmute you.
There's no one presently. It's now, the clock in the chamber says 10 after 6. So at this point, there's no one that has approached us.
Would Mr. Levin like to add anything since there is open space?
Not this time, but thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll wait a couple of minutes and then I'll close the open, open hearing. I have counsel on, Steve Mendick is on, and he has provided us with some ideas of how to structure how we're going to move forward, and I just want to make sure that all the commissioners have received that information. And I would hope that our next meeting, Steve, you could lead us through some of that. If you would like to address any of that now, obviously.
Be happy to, and if the public wants to
Yeah.
speak, they'll have plenty of opportunity after my presentation.
Okay,
Um,
so I'll just suspend the public hearing for a period of 10 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Nice to see everybody. Let me amplify something the chair just pointed out with regard to the membership of the Charter Commission. It is controlled entirely by statute, and the statute allows for a structure from 5 to 15 members. The council has decided on the number it has. There is no provision in the state law for alternates. You have a fixed number of members of the commission. So you do not have the authority, and I would argue that the council does not have the authority to modify the structure of the commission as presently constituted. So I just wanted to make that clear for the record. With regard to the schedule, I had at our first meeting suggested 2 meetings a month, and it makes no difference. I tried to set it up so that it was every other week. The chair has raised the issue of the possibility of having your meetings on the 1st and 3rd Wednesdays of the month, and that would be just as well and just as fine if we were to do something like that. The one problem is it would not pose a problem at that point if you do the 1st and 3rd, because my other commission in Stamford has meetings on the 2nd Wednesdays, so it would skip over that completely. So the potential conflict that was in the current schedule doesn't exist. Our next proposed meeting, my next proposed meeting to you, is that we have a meeting on 2 weeks from now, or however we decide to do the schedule, with the mayor and other elected and appointed officials. I would also invite the Corporation Council to appear there. And the objective of that meeting is to get a feel for the priorities that the elected and appointed officials have for this Charter Commission, aside from the general admonition that we take a look at restructuring the charter and modernizing the charter, streamlining the charter. The inclusion of the Corporation Council, I normally have a meeting in most of my charter processes with the Corporation Council where we go through the charter and do a red line. In light of the concerns about just the document itself, I think it would probably be more productive to have the corporation counsel or somebody from his office or representatives of the office come in and tell us where they think some of the potholes and problems are in the document.
Mhm.
So that as we go through the document, we keep those things in mind. The meeting I would suggest after, whatever the date may be, could be the first Wednesday of the month, would be a meeting with Evergreen Solutions, which conducted an efficiency study. And in their efficiency study, they spent a great deal of time talking about charter revision. And it would seem to me that right up front in our process, it would make sense to spend an evening with people from Evergreen Solutions to kind of have them walk through the form of government and how they think the charter should be restructured, since somebody spent a lot of money on them, and it would be very productive and useful to try to integrate some of their thoughts in our process. After that process, after we obviously did not get a lot of comment from the public, the chair has also indicated that we would have another public hearing, and we should do that periodically anyhow. After we finish the public hearing, the meeting from Evergreen, the meeting with the elected officials, I recommend that we have a meeting that I call level set meeting, where we sit down and begin to lay out substantively how we want to attack the charter, how we want to structure our meetings going forward from now until next May. So the decision you have to make is whether we go with the every other week scenario or whether we do a first and third Wednesday scenario. And I'm happy to go in any direction you'd like.
Okay, do any of the commissioners have any questions on those comments?
I'd like to see us locked into first and third of the month, only because that will set, the public will know that we're meeting every,
Something clear.
and I have to worry about when is the
Yeah.
second meeting, when is it? I think we lock in, it'll be better for the committee.
Any other comments?
No, I would agree with that. Because I sent out on my social media stuff, and I sent it also, John, I don't know if it got forwarded to the other members of District D or not, but I sent out a notification about this meeting. And I did on Facebook, and I did through the District D members of the Republican Party. It's quite honestly, I mean, this is a very, very important document that needs, I mean, it's the grassroots for the city operating, obviously, and this is disappointing. Now, it's either disappointing because a lot of the members didn't want to come, or a lot of people didn't know about it. But I agree, whatever we could do to lock it in people's minds and better communicate this through whatever media we can to communicate it and get more people here, that would be a real benefit.
Yeah, right. Okay. Would you like to comment?
No, I think having it on a set schedule, the first and third makes sense. I'll check back with you guys. I think they're having it on the third Wednesday in November instead of the second. Might be
Because
a
of
problem.
It's Thanksgiving, isn't it?
It's the week before.
Oh, okay.
the third.
The 16th in November. I might have a conflict there, but
Okay.
I could check back another time. I think it certainly makes more sense to stick to a fixed first and third rather than have to try to count
Got
back
back.
2
right,
weeks, whenever the
right,
last
every
one.
other.
Yeah.
Okay. And any of our commissioners that are on Zoom would like to comment, please?
Well, I also support having meetings on the first and third Wednesdays of each month. That would be better for the public as well.
Yeah, and I fully agree.
Okay, so does somebody want to make a motion to that effect?
Can I ask one question, though? Do you still want to have the meeting on the 26th of October? Because we don't have, unless we do,
Well.
I have a meeting next Wednesday that I cannot, so I can't be here for the third meeting in October. The third
Should we
Wednesday.
start?
So are you saying that if we have a meeting on the 26th, you are not available?
No, I'm available on the 26th. I'm not
Okay.
available next Wednesday. So we can start the first and third in the month of November.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that, oh, I'm sorry, I cut anybody off. I make a motion that starting in November that we meet on the first and third of
Wednesday.
each month.
So we would be
Wednesdays.
consecutive weeks
Right,
at the
At-
end and then at
yes.
the beginning. to
Yeah.
get us-
right.
Okay, second to the motion, please.
Second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. There's one comment, Steve, that you made that I want to make clear, and that is the scheduling of the next public hearing. As it was my understanding, because of the mistake in the paper, that they wanted us to do that at our next meeting. And you had indicated you didn't want a public hearing. I thought you indicated you didn't want a public hearing until till we had two other meetings with the.
Oh, no,
mayor.
I don't care. You can do your public hearing whenever you'd like. What the opinion said is that it's just an abundance of caution. The mistake was not in the notice. The mistake was in an accompanying document. So you can do it at the next meeting. And if you'd like.
And then at the same time, we would have the mayor and the council at present.
I think you may want to start
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and that's scheduled.
Is that, how does the commission feel about that?
Yeah.
Is there a notice requirement? Do you need to have?
Yeah, yes, definitely. It
With
has to
an
be
X
posted.
amount of time between when we were to advertise it and when we were to host it. So if we were to have
Yeah.
it at the next
Yeah.
meeting,
Yes.
there'd be enough time.
We have plenty of
I
time.
believe so, yes. But is how many, 4 days?
48 hours, basically.
Pardon?
2 days for a notice for a
2 days.
special, yeah,
First special meeting.
special meeting. I'd get the notice out for a public hearing as soon as
I
possible.
think that's
Yeah.
important because if anybody perceives that there was a mistake, we deal with it immediately and not protract it
I agree.
into what we really want to be talking about.
You want to start at 6 o'clock again, Madam Chair?
Yes.
All right.
And
Will that be a standard start time for all of our meetings?
Yes.
I believe so, but if the commissioners would like to discuss it, it's open for discussion. Does anybody want to address that? I don't see any hands going up, either on screen or off. So we would maintain the 6 o'clock, and I do think that should be an emotion. The two items should be an emotion for the record.
Make a motion that our meetings begin at 6 o'clock on the first and third Wednesday of each month.
Second.
With the exception of the meeting held on
Right.
October
And
26th.
we should do a separate motion for that because it's going to be a public hearing.
Okay. Okay, who seconded? I'm sorry,
I think Mike Winters.
Mike?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Any discussion on that motion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Excuse me, through the chair, it's the secretary. There's someone who is logged in as Charter Revision Commission, and it's a picture of the Norwalk sign. And I don't know who that is. Make the motion. That's what I need to know.
That is the meeting host. It's not a person on the commission.
Okay, then who just made that time motion through the chair?
Rick
did.
McQuaid.
I'm sorry, who?
Rick McQuaid.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Rick, you weren't coming through.
I'm shy.
And so a motion,
Yeah,
a motion is in order to hold a public hearing and a meeting on the October 26th.
Again, I'll make a motion for us to hold a public hearing on October 26th at 6 p.m. to go over items that we planned for the commission.
Is there a second to that motion?
A second.
Thank you. There any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries unanimously. So, the only other things that we might discuss tonight, Steve, if you want to give us some instructions on how to start to read the draft ideas that you put together for us.
Thank you. Well, they're not draft ideas. It's a reorganized charter.
Right.
So what I tried to do without changing any words, you'll see that I did do some editorial things with regard to the way numbers are used, so that you'll see a number with a parenthetical spelled out, then with a parenthetical next to it, and things like that, just to develop some consistency. But what I tried to do is I tried to take every provision that's in your current charter. And the first thing I did is I moved all of the taxing districts from the beginning of the charter to the end of the charter. It's not clear to me how much we will get into the taxing districts, but I thought that the charter document, your governing document, should commence at the beginning by saying, this is the charter. This is what the charter does. This is the source of our powers in Article 2. The districts, the wards, those types of things are spelled out up front in the charter. You then move to how do people populate the government? How are people elected? When do the elections occur? What are the terms of office? And normally in these provisions, you will see very often ethics standards that cover all elected officials. You may see open meeting standards that cover all officials. In some of the charters I've just done, you will see civility provisions are being considered by charters. They're placed up front in the elections and governance section, which is in Article 3. Again, none of this has changed. All of these provisions are in your current charter. They're just reorganized. Article 4 is your legislative branch. Again, same provisions that are in the current charter. Article 5, the mayor. Article 6, I reserve for other elected officials. I haven't populated that yet, so I'll be making some little changes here and there in the document. Article 7 are your boards and commissions. 8 are your department heads and departments. 9 is education. 10 is the budget. Then 11 is historical provisions, which could be expanded. And then Article 12 is taxing districts. When you go into the body of the document, you're going to see annotations. And the objective of the annotations, and so this was kind of painstaking to put together, was
Yes.
to make sure that we can see where each of these provisions came from. Because at some point, we're going to have to explain this to the public. And it's not going to be an easy red line.
Mhm.
We're going to have to explain what happened to provisions of the charter. And when you do a massive reorganization like this, that could be, in the end, tantamount to a total replacement document, not a replacement of ideas that are in your document, but the document itself will look very different. You want to make sure people understand where the section came from. And that way we would then redline. If we change the terms of office, for example, I know a controversial subject, but if we change the terms of office, we would want to make it clear where the current term is in the current charter and how it ended up in the section it's in right now. But that was a pretty painstaking process. And this way, going forward, it allows lawyers who work for the city, the members of the public who want to advocate for change in the city using provisions of the charter. It gives everybody a historic context for where these sections came from. Because I suspect that a lot of provisions that are in the charter and a lot of powers that are in the charter will remain. It's important, but they're not going to be in the same place, and they're going to be in a totally different structured environment than they are today. So those are the summaries. That's kind of a summary. And then one of the things we have to figure out after we listen in the next few weeks, again, to the public. And I recommend, as I always do, Madam Chair and members of the commission, that we invite the public to speak as often as you'd like, especially when you start getting into debates and deliberations on issues. It's very useful to invite people, if not a full-fledged public hearing, but at least an hour, 45 minutes, half hour of public comment is very helpful from time to time as you go through this process. And so we have to decide at some point how we're going to tackle it. Do we tackle subject matters? Do we tackle, I very often say to commissions, why don't we start with the budget process? It's a good process. It has a beginning, it has an end. And we have a lot of officials who know something about budget processes. We could do any number of ways you want to go to it, but at some point in November, we will take a look at this document and figure out how we're going to tackle it. Because I think the council wants us to take a look at the whole document and to come back with a substantially changed document. So that's the logic behind the document. And I'm happy to answer any questions. I hope it's helped you with your sleep. If anybody's had problems sleeping, this is a very, very good piece of reading material for that purpose. But
It
I'll
takes
be happy
about
to answer
45 minutes to fall asleep.
Takes 45 minutes to print
Right. Right.
Well, try lifting it up. It's pretty heavy also.
Any
but-
of the commissioners have any questions? Nobody?
I only have one. It's not major, but as I read through what I was able to read through, and I read through quite a bit of it. A lot of because of the environment that we're in now today, and I think it's also appropriate to look at it. A lot of the verbiage in it when we refer to elected officials is councilman. We want to take a hard look at that and change that.
My recommendation, if we're going to be doing a substantial rewrite of this document, that you should really move in the direction of gender neutrality. So I suspect that we'll see that throughout the document.
Okay, good.
It
Thank
appears-
That's up to you, but I would recommend it anyhow. I think as we go through the document, we should definitely try to start referring people as council members. At least we have an easy move. And when you have a board of selectmen, the board of select person sounds very goofy. At least council members works much better. So
That's a good point. There's reading the description of the districts, it's almost from the oak tree to the stone wall across the brook kind of explanation in the charter as to what our districts are. So I thought it would be helpful for the commission to be provided with a map of the districts and of the wards. So that if there's any difference between one and the other, we'd have a better idea.
There is.
Pardon?
that might be a question we ask the corporation council when.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
there is, but I think we need both maps provided to us as we plow through this so that we really have a good understanding of the districts.
But the other point I want to make on that, and I'll talk to Mario about this and to others, is I was surprised to see the districts in the charter. In most communities, the districts are created every 10 years after redistricting. And I'm not sure how you do it in Norwalk. So it's unusual to have your legislative districts laid out in the charter because they change every 10 years based on Baker versus Carr, one person, one vote. The congressional districts change, the legislative districts change, and your local legislative district should be changing. So I have an outstanding question as to why they're in the charter at all, and what do you do for redistricting? So we're all together on that.
Yeah.
An insight a little bit on that.
Yes, I was gonna call on
Is
Rick to
that
try to
The
explain that
taxing districts are
here.
part of the city government. They don't have anything to do with the legislative districts or the municipal districts.
Yeah, I get that.
Taxing districts. So they don't even line up with those maps. So actually, we have three maps in the city. One is the legislative map, one is the municipal election map, and one is a taxing district map. So that is why I think this was from back in the day when there were roads and things like that. And these taxing districts were set up. So they don't align with any of the other maps
So we need all
or
three.
districts.
We need all three maps.
Right.
Yeah, the districts I'm talking about are the section 2-3 council districts. I understand the taxing districts and the wards.
Okay, I'm sorry, Steve.
Yeah, but it's the council districts upon which you elect your members that that I need to get some background on as to why they're in the charter at all. I understand the reason why there's 3 different types of districts, but it's the council
Okay.
districts themselves. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, I'm sure that it's gonna be a confusing issue as we plow through this. So, is there any other comment from anyone? Yes.
Does anybody know, I mean, I don't know this, but I know trying to find maps in elections and finding out, you know, where your district is versus, it's pretty difficult.
No, That's
Or-
why I brought it up.
Yes, and it's a good thing. So my question is, Stephen mentions that it's every 10 years that we go through a redistricting. Did we go through one 10 years ago?
Not for taxing districts.
How about for the voting districts for,
We just
That's
did
what he was-
the new one for legislative ones just done. And I can't remember the last time. I would believe it was within 10 years that street lines were changed. I think they were made to be more straight, you know what I mean? Because they were so jagged before. But I think that'd be a question that Stuart be able to
okay.
answer more. But I do believe we did, you know, straighten them out.
The only thing I know that when we were trying to find district boundaries, that
Voting district.
voting district.
Yes.
That they tended to follow and go way back to when the city council districts were set up, which was quite a while ago.
Very well.
So anyway, it's just tough to kind of follow.
Yep. So I thought the maps would be
Yeah, absolutely.
basic information that we need. Is there any, are there any other materials that any of the commissioners would like to be provided with?
We do have a few people from the public that
That want to speak?
joined late, and they may
Okay.
want to speak.
Okay,
Okay.
is that everybody okay with that? So we reopen the hearing to allow them to speak? All right.
Okay, if anyone would like to speak, please raise your hand electronically now and I will unmute you. And please state your name and address for the record. All right. Yep, go ahead, Ms. Cece.
This is Diane Cece, Olmsted Place. I actually had joined, I think, about 10 after 6, expecting a lengthy meeting with some background on the charter, followed by a public hearing, but I guess I had missed that. So I had posted a question, which I think has already been answered now, regarding being able to continue to submit comment. And I think you've answered that we can continuously do that, and there'll be more than just the legal public hearing, the statutory hearings for us to do that.
Yes, and
So I do
there's a form.
appreciate that. And then-
there's a
Oops, I'm-
form online that you can use also to submit those, Diane.
Okay, and then, yeah, I think I saw that form online, and then if we're just sending emails, would we direct it to a specific person or only submit comments through that online mechanism?
Pardon?
Yeah,
Okay,
I think that would be the best.
you can. So how do you give them the email? We're gonna get an email address for you.
So those could also be submitted directly to me, and I can give you my email address. It is jschantz@norwalkct.org.
Okay, thank you for that. Are you the assistant city clerk?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hi,
Yeah.
Stay
nice
who
to
you are.
meet you.
You as
And
well.
then I guess just a question, it doesn't have to be answered now, but if I had been part of public hearing, I would have asked. I wonder if the consultant or the committee can tell us whether or not you'll be reconsidering the public comments and feedback and suggestions from the 2016 roundabout with this. I reviewed some of them that were presented formally by some of the neighborhood associations, and I believe everything on that list is as relevant today as it was then. So, and I see Mr. Mednick shaking his head yes, so thank you.
No, I was going to say that we should, somebody just gave me the list of things that occurred in the 2016 report. I'm not sure whether all the comments from 2016 are part of this. So I would recommend that somebody, if somebody thinks they're relevant, they should be submitted. One of the services I provide to the commission is I do try to keep diligent track of all public comments that come in, both your testimony this evening, as well as any written comments that come in, and provide those to the commission. We keep the commission up to date. City Clerk's office will do the same, provide the commission with all updated comments. And at the time that they lay out their schedule, they will take a look at your comments, which will be given substantial weight in terms of how they plan their schedule. But as to the comments from the last commission, I think somebody really needs to introduce them into the record so that they would be part of the record. Otherwise, I'm not sure how otherwise they would get before the body. So somebody should actually do that.
I can request that the city clerk provide those documents to the full commission. Thank you.
That would be helpful, and we'll try to spread the word through neighborhood groups to go ahead, even if they think it's redundant, if they have their records on what they wanted changed or updated, to resubmit those just as well. I'll review the YouTube of the stuff that I missed. I really appreciate you accommodating me stepping in after the hearing. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for volunteering to do this too. We know it's a monumental, thankless, tireless, mostly payless undertaking. Thank you.
And Diane, I don't know if you missed that we will be meeting every first and third Wednesday of the month. So that
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brescia. Yeah, that's right where I hopped in with the scheduling. So I'll note that as well. And 6 o'clock can be cumbersome for those of us who work, but I think having that schedule in advance makes it a little bit easier. My preference would have been 6:30 or 7, but at least people know that in advance we can prepare for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. There's another comment.
Next, we have Diane Laricella.
Good evening, Patsy and the commission.
Hi, Diane.
You can hear me and
Hello.
hello. 2 Dianes in a row. This is thank you for, I had trouble getting on, so I really appreciate you reopening and allowing the public to speak. First of all, thank you. I thank the city for initiating this step, and the council and all of you for serving. I also thank you, Attorney Mednick. I've listened in on some of your explanations, and it's I love working with attorneys. I'm an environmental consultant, so this is refreshing, and I wish you all good luck. I am very pleased that you will allow public comment during this process. It's very important. I first off wanted to, now I will echo what Miss Cece said, because she and I used to be active members of the Coalition for Norwalk Neighborhood Associations. And we actually had a meeting, several meetings, where individual neighborhood associations reviewed article by article and offered ideas. I think it's very important, Attorney Mednick, and these new volunteers, charter revision volunteers, to find out whether there are minutes, notes of all the public hearings that took place on the topic that led to the initial vote that was not successful because of the way it was laid out. And I think this process sounds like it is much more not only accommodating of other ideas, you are open, as they do in Wilton. And I would highly, and in Wilton, they had a charter revision listening session before they ever appointed their charter revision commission, because they wanted to hear from the public and the public's ideas. And so I thank you that we are modeling our efforts after that way of doing things instead of the very narrow view that was taken the first time around, which did not meet up with much success. In fact, I thought that the only provision that was voted for was a gender neutrality provision, and apparently that is not the case. So I wanted to lift up the fact that throughout the document, gender neutrality should be aspired to and also codified. I also hope, and I'll be very brief because I'm going to send my suggestions, is that we really buckle down and consider reorganizing some of the agencies, because in my opinion, we still do not have an effective means to handle our environmental management in our city. I know there is some discussion about the possibility of starting an Office of Sustainability. I, of course, would be very happy with that. But I do think that we still have silo vision, even though we had a reorganization of our city just a few years ago. And I was in favor of it, but I'm thinking that there's still a big gap. I do think we need to look, of course, at the terms of offices. That's what got us stuck the first time around. And we should look at what other cities and states have done for such a robust body. I personally feel we should have more than 15 council people, because that way our council people could actually do some additional homework instead of being spread so thin, because they are all assigned to 2 or 3 committees of the Common Council. And many of us brought to the attention, but it did not rise to being taken seriously, increasing the number of council members, both in each district and also in the at-large roles. Boards and commissions, we have never really taken seriously planning and zoning commissioners being elected as opposed to appointed. I also lastly wanted to state, when it comes to public participation, I think it's very important, number one, because this is only codified for the full council. And it has been a welcome tradition and policy to allow public comment at council committees. And some boards and commissions have adopted public participation. But when I was president of the League of Women Voters, when Dick Moshe was mayor, we tried to advocate for public participation section in each of the council committees, the boards and commissions. Where that is placed, sometimes it's been placed like in the Board of Health at the end of the meeting, not preferred, but at least it's there. I think it should be codified, because we are the ones paying the taxes and we are who everyone works for, including the elected officials. So please lift up public participation. And lastly, because of COVID and what we've seen that happens with pandemics, I think the city did handle switching to Zoom meetings very well. I really like the chart that was presented by the IT department. I've explained it to people. It makes it easier. The one thing that definitely needs to be codified, and I am going to lobby for this, is if the city must go back to virtual meetings and even continue, that they must, not may, include video. Because not seeing my face, you cannot note how passionate I am about something, how serious I'm being taken. And I have been on statewide Zoom meetings throughout the pandemic where people's faces were seen. And that is only the portion of a Zoom permission that I'm sure this city has paid for and is not using. So I would like to codify it, put it in writing, that when we have Zoom meetings or any virtual meetings, and I do appreciate that we have them, that the video, and maybe even the chat, but at least the video must be turned on, because this has been the only part of this that I think is very sad and I don't think is transparent. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I appreciate all of your work.
You're welcome. Thank you. Is there anyone else? There are no other comments, and it's now 6:35, 36. So a motion then to end this public participation portion of the hearing.
So moved.
Okay, Rick McQuaid,
Second.
Dixon, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Is there anything that any member of the commission would like to bring forward? Any other suggestions? Okay.
Question for the chair. I was going to ask about the email, but it seems as though we've sorted that out. There's the online form and then they can go to Jordan. But in the event that someone were to submit a written comment, is there somewhere that if they mail it here, it ends up in a box or a?
I think that's
And
fine also.
Jordan, could you please elucidate? on
Sure.
that?
So if they want to mail that, they can send that directly to the city clerk's office, which is also the mayor's office. So it's City Hall. They can send that directly to me, and that's Jordan Chance as well.
Is that also on the website?
I will make sure that's on the website.
Okay. That's important. And then you will disseminate that information to all of us. Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn would be in order.
So
moved. Okay, second.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Steve.
Motion carried. Thank you all, and
Thank you, Steve.
good
Take care.
reading. Have some time put aside to catch up on this. It's absolutely fascinating. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good
night.